now. So it's great to see him getting some success. There you see Brad Bonin on the right side of your screen. We just watched Ari Lack's draft a little bit earlier, so pretty much across the table. All right, let's take a look at Brad Bonin's draft. If you were in his seat, Reed, what would your fingers be crossed for?
Well, as I mentioned, I think all the guilds can hang in booster draft. You can make them all work. It seems to me, well, before the weekend, I would have said maybe Boros is the strongest if you can get a really nice-looking Boros deck, but Dimir really impressed me yesterday, so I would say those are probably the most appealing guilds, but if you find yourself in an open seat for any of the 5 and you're getting past those nice gold cards, then no need to resist.
Yeah, he's got some nice options here, but March of the Multitudes, that's a pretty good card.
Yeah, that's probably a top 10 or 20 rare in the set. Really, really strong card. It's not amazing to be in your opening hand. It's not amazing if you're very far behind, but this is a great breaker for a board stall or way to spiral an advantage out of control, which those are the two things that Selesnya really wants. Wants to just come out nicely and then put the opponent away once it gets a little bit ahead on the board.
Something that your opponents won't necessarily be expecting either as a mythic rare, creating just maybe 1 billion soldier creature tokens with lifelink. World Soul Colossus shuffled to the front of this pack. Here, if he wants to stay on Selesnya theme, there's also a Skyline Scout. There's a look at the Colossus. We saw it a bit yesterday. Pretty good scales with the game.
Yeah, these two cards that he has shuffled to the front, I think they're about equal in power level, and this is just a conceptual pick of, do you take the late game powerful card, or do you want to lock up, make sure you have your early plays early on? I don't really know what's right. This is type of thing that you get once you have tons and tons of reps in the formats. You get more instincts for how difficult it is to pick up those 2-drops, but Brad goes with the powerful gold card, which I certainly can't blame him for.
And that's really cool to me. You saying, I'm not sure which one I should take because we're so early in the format. Watching draft here at the Grand Prix level for the first time is really, really cool.
Oh, don't worry. You'll be hearing me say that a lot over the course of today.
I just always assume you know everything, Reed. You know what I mean? Ooh.
That Affectionate Indrik is a real nice one for any green drafter, Golgari or Selesnya. So I think Brad will take that, and he'll have 3 powerful top-end cards, which is fine. That's not too many, but he will at a certain point want to shift and make sure he's got a balanced deck, fill out his curve a little bit. But so far, just locking up these powerful cards is exactly where he wants to be.
I remember at the pre-release, Megan was playing Is It, and she splashed 2 Affectionate Indriks, I believe.
Hey, why not?
Yeah.
Single green. Effectively a removal spell.
Healer's Hawk in here and a Generous Stray. Truefire Captain hanging out in the back for those Boros dreams that didn't pan out.
That is pretty late for Truefire Captain. Brad won't take it, but someone will be really happy to see that late in the pack.
What do you think here, the Stray or the Hawk?
I like the Stray. I would say Hawk is strong in Boros when you're going to have lots of ways to pump it up, but for Selesnya, you're less interested in stacking your resources onto a single creature and more interested in going wide and putting a lot of bodies onto the board. Generous Stray is really nice for that, sort of getting a body for free that you can use to convoke.
There's a Rosemane Centaur here, one of the payoffs at common for being Selesnya. Hunted Witness and a Wary Okapi.
Yeah, now I had mentioned Brad wants to emphasize... He wants to get to the point where he's emphasizing cheaper cards, and that's why he's thinking about the Hunted Witness.
Okay.
For me, I might not be able to resist the Rosemane Centaur because I think that's a relatively strong mid-late game creature, whereas Hunted Witness is a relatively weak early game creature, so I may have just gone for the higher power level there, but certainly Brad is thinking along the right lines, and Hunted Witness is a card that he's going to be happy to have in his deck.
There's a Guildgate in this pack, a Righteous Blow. That could be a nice pickup.
Yeah, I think Righteous Blow would be, like a 23rd card or a strong sideboard card against Boros. I'd be looking at the Guildgate, but Righteous Blow is another one that he's going to be happy to have in his pile. In particular, sometimes when you face those really good Boros decks, which actually Brad can expect a really nice Boros deck somewhere to his left, you need a card like Righteous Blow to keep pace.
Intrusive Pack Beast in here. Locks it on Restorer if he's worried about Boros as well.
Definitely that could be a sideboard card. Again, he's got a lot of top end, but Locks on Restorer could easily be a nice sideboard swap. Maybe switch the World Soul Colossus for a Restorer if he's really worried about his life total or flying creatures, something like that.
I think he took the Pack Beast here.
He did.
Devkaren Dissident, there's a Centaur Peacemaker, which is a really nice 3-drop, and a Might of the Masses.
So I love the Centaur Peacemaker with what Brad has because he is a creature deck, but he's not necessarily a beatdown deck. He's got the super powerful March of the Multitudes, and he's basically a board presence deck, and Centaur Peacemaker gaining each player 4 life can sometimes wind up being a positive symmetrical effect, like one that you make more use of just because you want to stall and make sure you have enough time to play the powerful cards. But he does need 2 drops, and he goes with the Devkaren Dissident.
Speaking of 2 drops, how about a Shieldmate?
Yeah, perfect. By the way, I'm suggesting alternatives to a lot of Brad's picks here, but it's sort of splitting hairs. Like he's thinking along the right tracks. He's trying to fill out his mana curve. He's got a good plan. We're on the same page in terms of what the end vision of his deck is going to look like. Just early in the format, sometimes players are going to have very slightly different evaluations of the marginal cards.
Vigor Spore Worm is a pickup for Brad here. Golgari card, but if you need it in a pinch. There's another Hunted Witness here that he's interested in.
He's got to be happy about that. I think he spent a relatively early pick, like a pick 4 or 5 on Hunted Witness, and now he's getting one on the wheel, which is great.
Not much left for him here as we kind of reach the end of pack number 1.
Sure, so he's going to take that Dimir Guildgate away from one of his opponents. That's a fine decision.
Not playing a league here at this table. Pause for reflection, which is a fog of the format. Final 2 cards in the pack, both black. Mephitic Vapors is nice to get that out of there at the very least.
Yeah, that's one card that you know you don't have to worry about now.
All right, taking a look at what Brad's assembled through pack number 1, what do you think, Reed?
I think it's great. Now, what I will mention about his deck is that it's very one-dimensional. He doesn't have any removal spells. He doesn't have combat tricks. He has one Righteous Blow, but that's going to be like sort of marginal,
right.
Maybe a sideboard card. But that's exactly what Selesnya wants. This deck wants an extremely high concentration of creatures. You want to just go, 1, 2, 3, curve out, and then use those cards to convoke out your powerful cards. So I think Brad has exactly the shell of the deck that he's looking for here with a handful of cheap creatures, including that Generous Stray, which I think is going to be really nice for him, and then 3 or 4 top-end cards, including March of the Multitudes, which is amazing, Affectionate Indrik, which is very good. So his power level is there, his shell is there, he's filling out his curve nicely, seems to be in a guild that's at least relatively open. He's going to have a functional deck, so Brad is right on track here.
Yeah, I always love when you're able to play the colors that your pack 1, pick 1 puts you into.
Yeah, it's not like he was getting past Conclave Cavaliers, pick 5.
Sure,
It's not like he was getting hit in the face with Selesnya, but he started with a super powerful mythic rare and then was able to follow it through at least, at a fair pace. So he's doing fine, and there's no reason to consider switching.
Of all the guilds, getting hit in the face with Selesnya, feels like the most unpleasant.
Mm-hmm. Particularly
big
those
creatures.
Loxodons.
Yeah. Ooh, Parhelion Patrol here as we crack open pack number 2. Shuffles that Righteous Blow to the front 2 and that Devkaren Dissident.
Yeah, he's going to be a little disappointed with this pack. There's no real standout cards. He's just picking up more filler creatures or another Righteous Blow, which it would be hard for me to imagine him starting 2. But again, when he plays against really fast Boros deck with Sky Knight Legionaries, he'll want access to those cards. So I'm not too sure which of the 3 Selesnya cards Brad will go with. He might even wheel another playable, but it's not what he was dreaming of opening.
I've really liked the Parhelion Patrol.
Right, yeah, this is a strong card, just at face value, very powerful, but again, these low-power mentor creatures, they're going to be better in Boros when you're able to, when you're looking to play cards that bolster their power, whereas Selesnya, a lot of times you're not playing the combat trick, certainly nothing like a Maniacal Rage.
He has some good options in here too, Rock Charger and Luminous Bonds.
Yep, those are both great. I've been raving about the Rock Charger all weekend. I think that's really nice for breaking board stalls. I don't know if it's better or worse than Luminous Bonds, but either of those cards is a nice pickup for Brad, and he did go with the Rock Charger.
Yeah, I was talking to Paul a little bit at the recent World Championships, and I was like, Rock Charger, Pegasus Corsair are uncommon now, and he's like, yeah, it had to be.
Yeah, I think it did have to be, particularly with Mentor. This card is just super strong.
All right, pack number 3 here. Pick number 3 from pack 2, Luminous Bonds once again. Ooh, Inspiring Unicorn.
Wow, this is where all the Selesnya cards are.
We found them.
And it makes sense because he didn't really pass anything downstream in pack 1, so he can he's given himself a higher chance of getting past Selesnya cards in pack 2. And Luminous Bond's a great pickup there, so we weren't sure what you should take between Rock Charger and Luminous Bond's last pick, but it looks like he's going to wind up with 1 and 1.
But what about the Inspiring Unicorn, Reed?
It's a very powerful card for Selesnya, particularly with March of the Multitudes. That's like a 1-2 punch that can end the game just out of nowhere.
Wow, another World Soul Colossus in here. A Siege Worm, Take Heart, a 3-2. Yeah, Selesnya is still flowing.
Yeah, so I'd be looking at Siege Worm or World Soul Colossus. I think those two cards are about equal, not completely sure which is better. Or Hitchclaw Recluse, which sort of for the same reasons as Righteous Blow. Just a card that would be nice to have access to defend against flyers, but certainly nothing wrong with taking Siege Worm there. He can use one more nice beefy creature to convoke into play.
5/5 Trampler with Convoke. We've seen it before. It's been good and remains good. Wow, another Rock Charger. Crushing Canopy, shuffle to the front, but that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that really is awesome. Rock Charger in Selesnya pairs really nicely with Rosemane Centaur, with World Soul Colossus. It can block opposing flyers. It's a relatively affordable and resilient body, kind of just everything you want.
And 2, it helps Selesnya out with a problem that sometimes green-based decks have, which is, dealing with a board stall.
Yes, that's a huge point. I'm glad you brought that up, Maria, about Selesnya in general. It's sort of a 2-step process, right? You flood the board with creatures, you get all your big stuff into play, but that's only step 1. You have to have an actual plan for winning the game, and how are you going to attack through a Death Touch creature or a high toughness blocker, and a lot of the time that can depend on flying creatures, and Rock Charger is perfect.
So he picks up Fresh-Faced Recruit here over Sworn Companions.
Yeah, I might have leaned towards the Sworn Companions just because of the power of Convoke, and as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Centaur Peacemaker, I don't really consider Brad to have a beatdown deck. It's more of a board presence deck. So instead of just a 2-drop that can unload some damage, the Sworn Companion is actually having lifelink. Putting two bodies onto the table instead of 1 makes it a little more resilient. Sworn Companion is not an exciting card, but I think one that is often part of these good Selesnya decks.
Here's another pickup of Siege Worm number 2 for Brad. Locks it on Restorer in this pack. Take Heart, Join Shields, which I think is kind of a little bit of a trap.
I would really like to see him take the Guildgate here. I think even in a 2-color deck, you're pretty happy to have about 2 Guildgates. Just, there's not really such a thing as good enough mana in Limited. We're used to playing 9 planes, 8 forests mana base, but that does leave you with non-functional draws some portion of the time, so having a Guildgate can help.
Another Righteous Blow here. It's also a little bit of the mana-fixing land, too.
Yeah, the Gateway Plaza is not nearly as exciting as the Selesnya Guildgate for a deck like this because you can't just lay it down on turn 1. So I don't blame him for passing that, but I think 1 Selesnya Guildgate would be a nice pickup. He has another shot at it here. But Crushing Canopy is a really good sideboard card, too. So I think taking the Canopy here is fine, but he had an opportunity to get one at a lower cost earlier. He took Take Heart, which I think is a card that's just okay.
Ooh, another Gate here and another World Soul Colossus. He's going to take the Colossus.
Yeah, he's really he really just seems to be using the logic that he doesn't need them in a 2-color deck, which I'm not exactly on the same page there. But like I said, I mean, that's what we do every single time we play Limited is we have a 2-color deck with all basic lands, and it usually works, just not always.
That's a good point to Reed, because I'm sure I would be on the same page as Brad, being like, well, I'm playing 2 colors. It's fine. Maybe I'll get one later, and if I do, I'll put it in. Locks it on Restorer there. We've seen that be a really nice sideboard card for Boros. And the final card of this second pack around the table, Boros Locket. All right, so He's managed to add some good stuff here in pack number 2, Reed.
Right. The Luminous Bonds is great, diversifying his tools a little bit there. Double Rock Charger, perfect. He is all set with his late game. Double Siege Worm, double World Soul Colossus, in addition to the other strong stuff he has, Affectionate Indrik and March of the Multitude. So I'm not looking for more expensive cards unless I'm getting premium stuff like rares and uncommons. But just, upgrading my little creatures a little bit, and picking up another removal spell. But basically, he's done here. If the draft ended now, he would have a functional deck. So he's got to be feeling pretty good. 2-pack deck, yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. It's very solid. The 2 Rock Chargers are my favorite part, personally. Especially with those Siege Worms and World Soul Colossuses. We could see some splashy ends to some games.
Brad's deck certainly does have the ability to kill out of nowhere with either the combination of World Soul Colossus plus Rock Charger or just end of turn March of the Multitudes, which I think if we get to watch some of Brad's games, this is going to do a lot of work for him.
So are we looking for some Prey Upons in the next pack, do you think?
Yeah, Prey Upon is fine. I would say a Prey Upon.
Okay.
That's a card you don't want to get caught with too many, and as I mentioned earlier, I think Selesnya really, really wants to focus on the high creature concentration, but Prey Upon, just one more tool to have access to. You can kill off a cheap flyer or Guild Mage that's giving you trouble, pairs well with his Siege Worm and World Soul Colossus, so that would be definitely a nice pickup.
All right, let's take a look at what Brad is going to open here in pack number 3 of this draft, pretty solidly in Selesnya from pick number 1. Yesterday it was all about the blue cards. Today in draft, things could shift pretty significantly. There is a Prey Upon Rock Charger number 3,
wow.
Smala Woodshaper. Wow. Yeah.
So I think he's got a Woodshaper and a Guildgate that he can think about getting on the wheel. I don't think he's going to spend his first pick on either of those. He'll be looking more at the Rock Charger or the Prey Upon, which both really strong cards. Keep in mind it is his 3rd Rock Charger, which, maybe the first 2 are a little more exciting. It's his first Prey Upon, but Prey Upon is a common, and he doesn't want too many, so he could gamble that he's going to get another shot at it. I don't blame him for taking Rock Charger there. I think that's maybe even what I would do also.
Yeah, that seems awesome to have 3 in your deck. It's just such a good insurance plan, giving you, protection against flyers, a way to win the game, a nice 1/3 body that can be defensive if it needs to.
Yes, that's exactly what we're looking for. The Conclave Cavalier. Ooh, and Knight of Autumn. So 2 premium Selesnya cards to choose from.
Which one do you like?
I think the Cavalier is better, and it's going to pair very well with the 3 Rock Chargers.
Yeah, it looks like he's taking Knight of Autumn.
Certainly a good pickup.
Does have the ability to destroy an artifact or enchantment if, say, one of his creatures gets Luminous Bonds or something like that. Can gain him 4 life if he finds himself.
Yeah, so Knight of Autumn, the fallback, the worst case scenario is you have a 3-mana 4/3, which is way above rate, just great creature. But being able to incidentally build artifact enchantment removal and life gain into your deck is very valuable and limited, because you never know when you're going to have to free up your World Soul Colossus from a capture sphere or take out some kind of rarer uncommon enchantment that's giving you trouble. So that's something that you wouldn't necessarily main deck a naturalize, but you're really, really happy if you can have it on a card that does plenty of other things for you at the same time.
Oh, is he thinking about hating this Nightveiled Predator? Yeah, he is.
And Brad has earned himself this right by being really focused and disciplined throughout the draft. He's way ahead of schedule in terms of number of playables, so he can just take away a card that he doesn't want to face rather than taking some other marginal creature. Whereas if he had shifted around in colors, or maybe his draft wasn't going as well, he might not have that luxury.
Taking a look through the pack here, there's some Sworn Companions. That'll be a really nice pickup for Brad.
Yeah, we had actually discussed the pick of Sworn Companions versus Fresh-Faced Recruit earlier, and I had advocated the Sworn Companions. But now with triple Rock Charger, I think Brad is more excited to have some 2-power 2-mana creatures just to be able to curve Recruit into Rock Charger. I mean, he didn't have a 2-drop option there, but I'm more excited about Grizzly Bear creatures now in Brad's deck because they pair well with the Rock Chargers and gives him just a plan. You know, he can beat down and kill an opponent that's not putting up much defense. Wow, that's...
Hatchery Spider.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
That card's really powerful.
We did talk about Brad doing... He's all set on his top end, but this card is strong enough. It's enough of an upgrade over something like a Siege Worm that I think he should be excited to take it.
Absolutely, and he's going to snap it off here. 5/7, and you just get to put something onto the battlefield. I was in a strong position in a game the other day, and then my opponent slammed a Hatchery Spider.
Oh, no.
Shut the door on that. There's a gate.
Good. I'm glad he's picking up a gate here at a low cost. I think that's going to be a nice addition to his deck. His deck's really good, so the next thing you focus on is consistency and just ask yourself what can go wrong.
Yeah, Brad's deck looks great. I'd be very excited if I was in his seat. Intrusive Pack Beast here, Kraul Foragers, another Parhelion Patrol, which I think is going to be his pick here.
Yeah, there's even a Selesnya Locket, which not exciting, but if you are a deck that lends itself to board stalls, sometimes a Locket is just what the doctor ordered to play out your hand and then have a little extra boost of power. But I think with the Rock Chargers, Brad is not going to encounter board stalls as much as many Selesnya decks might.
He picked up the Parhelion Patrol there. That would be Hunted Witness number 3 if he's interested. He takes it. When it dies, you get a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink.
Yeah, so this is effectively a perfect card for the early game in Selesnya because you can play it. If it dies or trades off, you still have a body, and either way, you're guaranteeing yourself some help for convoking later on.
Nice. He picks up a Smala Woodshaper this late in the draft. This is a card that R&D told me used to be a 2/2, but was far too good, so got a toughness taken off.
Yeah, I believe that this card is really strong, much better than drawing a card. So similar to Generous Stray, this is a creature where you can develop your board while maintaining your hand size and just set up really, really nicely for playing your powerful win condition cards. But yeah, that second point of toughness would be nice. It is vulnerable to stuff like Mephitic Vapors and Cosmotronic Wave as is.
Right. Wild Ceratok here as we kind of just round out our final picks from pack number 3.
Yeah, I think Brad has enough creatures that's not going to make his deck, even though it's a fine card. But, you know, at this point in the draft, we're just finishing things out, going through the motions.
Yep. 4 cards left. We'll take another Vigor Spore Worm here. He's already got one. Oh.
Wow.
Wow, okay. Woodshaper with 3 cards left in the pack.
That's not going through the motions. That card will make his deck. That's a really nice pickup for Brad.
That is excellent. Kraul Foragers here. 4/4 gains you some life. The Undergrowth, and there is the Locket as the last pick. Must be a sign there. All right, Reed. Overall, what grade do you give Brad's deck?
Maybe like an A-. I mean, it's not one of the best decks I've ever seen, but it's just really nice. It's got everything you want. It's got the late game rares. It's got a nice curve of creatures. It's got a couple of removal spells. It's just like, if I had to paint a picture of a really good Selesnya deck early on, this is basically what I would come up with.
Awesome. All right, well, we're going to see another draft in just a second. Don't go anywhere.